We're in a series called Tell Me Something Good, looking at Old Testament stories. And we've made it past creation and Adam and Eve and their fall, and Cain and Abel and the horrors and tragedy of that. And now we're going to talk about Noah. Familiar story, but we're going to talk about it and talk about some things that apply to us. So we're going to be in Genesis 6 through 9. I'm not going to read all of it. I'll read parts of it. But we're going to talk about the idea that because of sin, humanity was destroyed. God destroyed humanity, but he saved a family led by Noah to start all over again, to give a second chance. So we're going to look at the state of the world to start off with. Starting in verse 5. When the Lord saw that human wickedness was widespread on the earth, and that every inclination of the human mind was nothing but evil all the time, the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and he was deeply grieved. Then the Lord said, I will wipe mankind, whom I created, off the face of the earth, together with the animals, creatures that crawl, and birds of the sky, for I regret that I made them. And then 11 through 13, the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with wickedness. God saw how corrupt the earth was, for every creature had corrupted its way on the earth. Then God said to Noah, I have decided to put an end to every creature, for the earth is filled with wickedness because of them. Therefore I am going to destroy them along with the earth. So the state of the world is that it was wicked, it was evil, it was extremely wicked and evil. It was violent, it was corrupt. The sin that had started with Adam and Eve had carried over in murder with Cain and Abel, and just became a violent, wicked, corrupt world. Unfortunately, a lot like our world today, sadly. From Adam's sin in chapter 3, murder, violence, all that kind of stuff, sin was in full bloom by the time of Noah. God saw the corruption, and it hurt. It pained him. It caused him to take a painful action. He chose to destroy humanity and to start all over again. His heart was broken. Humanity was wicked. He was sickened. He didn't do it cheerfully. He didn't do it in a moment of anger, but he did it out of a sense of justice and a sense of righteousness. He decided to destroy the whole earth. He decided to destroy humanity and the whole earth and start all over again. So the world was wicked and evil, and God decided to destroy it and start all over again. So let's talk about Noah. Who is Noah? Verse 8 and 9, we're introduced to him a little bit. It says this, Noah, however, found favor with the Lord. These are the family records of Noah. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among his contemporaries. Noah walked with God. So he was a man who found favor with God. He's the exception, obviously, in this day and age. He is the one person that God could look at and say, this man is faithful. This man, he's not perfect, but he's not given in to lives of sin. And so he's given this enormous task in a difficult time, but he stays faithful. Verse 22 of chapter 6 says he did everything just as God commanded him. He was obedient, he was faithful, he was trusting, he was patient, he was persevering through it all. So he's a man who found favor with God. But he was far from a perfect man. Towards the end of Noah's passage, here's what it says in 9:20 through 23. Noah, as a man of the soil, began by planting a vineyard. He drank some of the wine, became drunk, and uncovered himself inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a cloak and placed it over both their shoulders, and walking backward, they covered their father's nakedness. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father naked. He wasn't chosen because he was sinless. He wasn't chosen because he was perfect. He was chosen because he was righteous. But just after all this happens, just after the events of the flood and of Noah's story happens, he celebrates and he gets drunk and he's dumb. He gets drunk and naked. We can easily fall prey to sin. Even though God is a forgiving God of grace, it's easy to fall back into it. So he's not perfect. But he obeyed God even when it was hard. 6:22 and 7:5 both deal with this idea. 6:22 again says Noah did this. He did everything that God commanded him. And then 7:5 says Noah did everything that the Lord commanded him. It must have been hard. Think about the opposition. I mean, it took a long time. It took forever, 100 plus years to build it. Think about that. Think about how long it took. Think about the fact that we're not talking about a modern technologically advanced world. He had to do it with what he had. God had to give him specific directions, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And people were likely unkind. They probably didn't understand it. They probably were like, look at Noah. He's stupid. Look what he's doing. He says it's going to rain. We haven't seen rain. What's he building? What's an ark? All that kind of stuff. They didn't understand it. They were probably unkind. They were probably harassing him. Scripture makes it clear, though, that Noah obeyed, that he held fast to what was right. And sometimes obeying God means believing and doing things that the world won't get. So there's a little bit about Noah. The next thing I want to talk about is this, that God provided. He gave Noah the instructions and help that he needed. 14 through 21 says this: make yourself an ark of gopher wood, make rooms in the ark, and cover it with pitch inside and outside. Here's how you're to make it. The ark will be 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, 45 feet high. You are to make a roof, finishing the sides of the ark within 18 inches of the roof. You are to put a door in the side of the ark, make it with lower, middle, and upper decks. Understand that I am bringing a flood waters on the earth to destroy every creature under heaven with a breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you will enter the ark with your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives. You are also to bring into the ark 2 of all the living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of everything, from the birds according to their kinds, from the livestock to their kinds, the animals that crawl on the ground to their kinds, will come to you so that you can keep them alive. Take with you every kind of food that is eaten, gather it as food for you and for them. So he revealed his plan. He told him, I'm going to destroy the world. I'm going to save you through an ark. He gave him specific directions to know how to do it, to know what was going to happen, to know how he was to build it, and to know what God was going to do. In our lives, God does the same thing. He gives us direction through the Bible, through pastors, through parents, through all kinds of things that speak into our lives, speak about our faith and our decisions. God provided Noah with everything he needed to build the ark, and he'll provide for us as we fulfill our purpose in him. The second thing he did is he provided a means of rescue and salvation. The Lord said to Noah, starting in verse 1 of chapter 7, excuse me, enter the ark, you and your household, for I have seen that you alone are righteous before me in this generation. You are to take with you 7 pairs of male and female, the clean animals, 2 of the animals that are not clean, a male and female, 7 pairs male and female of the birds of the sky, in order to keep offspring alive throughout the earth. 7 days from now I will make it rain on the earth, 40 days and 40 nights, and every living thing I have made I will wipe off the face of the earth. So he tells him, hey, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to do this. I'm going to care for my creation. 21 through 24, every creature perished, those that crawl on the earth, birds, livestock, wildlife, those that swarm on the earth, as well as all mankind. Everything with the breath, the spirit of life in its nostrils, everything on dry land died. He wiped out every living thing that was on the face of the earth, from mankind to livestock, to creatures that crawl, to the birds of the sky, and they were wiped off the earth. Only Noah was left, and those that were with him in the ark, and the water surged on the earth for 150 days. In verse 1 of chapter 8, God remembered Noah as well as all the wildlife and livestock that were with him in the ark. God caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the water began to subside. So he cared for his creation. He provided a way for some of it to survive and start over. There was only one means of rescue, one means of escape from the flood, one means of salvation, if you will, through the massive ark. It would be big enough to preserve human life and animal life for God to start over. It says in verse 23, he blotted out everything. Like, he got rid of it all. He wiped it all out. But through the ark, he provided a means of rescue and a symbol of salvation. And Noah's family serves as a reminder that the God who hates sin and judges sin also shows mercy and grace and provides a way out, provides rescue if we'll accept it. It's a picture of what he does through Jesus down the line. Noah's family alone is saved, and God establishes his covenant with them. The final thing here is that he gave a promise and another chance. 8:15 through 22. God spoke to Noah, come out of the ark, you, your wife, your sons' wives with you. Bring out all the living creatures with you, birds, livestock, those that crawl, and will spread over the earth and be fruitful and multiply. So Noah, along with his sons, his wife, his sons' wives, came out. All the animals, all the creatures that crawl, all the flying creatures, everything that moves on the earth came out of the ark by their families. Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took some of every kind of clean animal and every kind of clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. When the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, he said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of human beings, even though the inclination of the human heart is evil from youth onward. And I will never again strike down every living thing as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will not cease. And then verse 1 of chapter 9, God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. God wanted Noah to know about this new beginning, about this second chance. The flood was a purge of evil, but it was also a chance at a new start, at a second start. Noah worshiped God. He sacrificed. He gave thankfulness. And God promised to never again curse the ground because of humanity. He also recommissioned Noah, like he had Adam and Eve, to be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth and repopulate it. He's resetting things to the original purpose, and he's given opportunity to go forward. Through the covenant with Noah's family, God would begin things all over again. The rainbow in the sky is the sign to remember that promise. So the story of Noah, the story of the flood, is a story of judgment and salvation, of obedience and disobedience. In an era of overwhelming wickedness, Noah set himself apart by living righteously. He responded to God's commands with willing hearts and hands. He was rewarded for his righteousness, his faithfulness, his obedience. His family was saved, and so was he. It's still the same today. God is still the same today. He cares about our lives. He'll punish sin, but he provides redemption. He provides a means of rescue and redemption and salvation. And if we'll accept it, if we'll accept what he's done for us, he'll turn our dead hearts alive, and he'll turn our graves into gardens.